when you meet customers, business leaders, CIOs, CEOs, CTOs, whoever's in charge of making these decisions to bring low code solutions on, what is the general receptiveness? I'm curious because I think for a long time there's been a promise that everyone, this is gonna revolution. Like I mentioned before, like 10 years ago, people, there were drag and drop builders, like there were business process flow management tools. I mean, they weren't very good, but they were there. And so I don't know if like CIOs, CTOs, CEOs, like are they skeptical, or are they more receptive? Like they want to see
every CIO is skeptical, and rightly so. This is not a new concept. We call it low code today.
Yeah.
We used to call it declarative development or end user computing or lots of things.
Yeah, it's been around. This low code is a more recent term. The concept's been around for a while.
4GLs or things like it's not new, but it's gotten better. But I will say this: look, every CIO, every IT director, every manager, because everybody has a certain vested interest in IT these days. It's 2022. Digitalization is part of everything and should be, but the motivators for this kind of thing are twofold. Thing number one is there's a backlog. Demand exceeds supply for business applications. Has for a very, very long time, shows no signs of changing. But anything that can close or at least reduce the app gap is a very, very, very good thing. The second motivator is, and this is more for citizen development and less for low code, because like I said, professional developers use low code quite a lot of the time. But there is a developer disconnect. In other words, the business stakeholder that knows what they want and the developer that's able to produce it have a communication challenge. Now, you can say this is because the business stakeholder has no idea how to describe what they want in actionable terms, or has no way to prioritize something that is essential and very, very doable from something that is just a nice to have and incredibly difficult to create. And not knowing that their specifications, because they aren't prioritized or aren't grounded in reality, make something take half a year instead of 1 month. Or it could be the developer that just has no idea how the business runs and makes crazy decisions that causes... What it causes is the need for constant negotiation, which frustrates the heck out of everybody. So anything that can be done to help bridge that communication gap, or in the case of citizen development, just abdicate building the application to the person that understands the business problem, there's some attractiveness to that. Those are the motivators for wanting to look at low code, both for professional use and for amateur use. But on the other hand, there is the potential for chaos. Especially when you talk about citizen development, which is why I think IT needs to play a conductor, a coach, a coordination role when you're talking about a lot of citizen development efforts. They have the keys to the kingdom. They know where everything is. Their job is to curate all of this. But here's the other thing that CIOs are sometimes not necessarily... Well, yes, they're justified in caring about it, but the knee-jerk response to avoid vendor lock-in, I hear that a lot. That's a comment that makes a ton of sense when you're talking about, say, a database, or it might make a ton of sense when you're talking about a language or low-level assets or storage or things like that. But when you start talking about low code, by definition, we're talking about some of the work having already been done for you and you're reusing it, which means you're going to take a dependency, and you just need to be ready to do that. If you write everything with code and your company builds a library of its own reusable stuff, you're still taking dependency on the people that built that library. If they get hit by a bus or get promoted or leave for another company, you've just locked yourself into something that can't be maintained, unless your organization has some redundancy built in and you manage people well. You're always taking a dependency, is what I'm saying. Be careful about what you're taking a dependency from. Choose your dependencies carefully, but there's no avoiding lock-in. Just get locked in with someone you like.
Hey, thanks for watching. This segment is brought to us by Salesforce Platform. Visit salesforce.com/newsletter to discover timely insights and useful tips tailored to your role. Subscribe to this channel and get more great IT and tech interviews with top industry leaders.